Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome back to another episode of Monday Morning Grit with Warren and James.
We're glad to have you.
Warren's wearing some spiffy attire. I think we talked about it in a previous episode, but I finally get to see it in action.
It's my Etc. Orcas hockey jersey.
The Orca is sick.
Oh, I love the Orca. That's why I bought it, you know.
Is it your favorite water animal?
It's close. I think I'm more of a sea otter guy.
Oh, a sea otter. That's a great call. You like watching them break the shells when they're swimming on their back?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, that is pretty cool. They got
very
those.
cool. Or they all hold hands together so they don't float off in the
That is cute.
in the sea.
I'm a bit of a barnacle guy myself.
Barnacles.
No, that's I just read this thing that Charles Darwin studied barnacles for 10 years before he went to the Galapagos.
10 years he studied them.
I know, it seems excessive.
There are people that just specialize in worms and stuff. So I
Yeah.
guess maybe back in the day it was excessive, but nowadays, there's an expert for everything.
Yeah, exactly. If you're going to get your PhD, you need something that narrow.
Yeah.
But yeah, I always thought that was funny that he chose barnacles of any creature.
Well, I guess it set him up for future success.
Yeah, just imagine if Jane Goodall was studying, sea cucumbers. Would we care as much?
I like sea cucumbers. I think they got a good thing going.
Mm-hmm. It seems like a decent life.
Yeah.
You unsuspecting death until it happens.
Not very many things get to be squishy and colorful like that.
So true. You need a different kind of skeleton down there in the deep.
Those are two desirable features: squishy and colorful.
Squishy and colorful. I like it.
Yes.
Yeah, colorful. Colorful is also rare in the deep.
Mm-hmm.
So shout out to the sea cucumber.
Shout out! Don't eat them.
Yes, they're not as good as regular cucumbers.
They don't taste like cucumbers.
You can't pickle them.
No. But yep, got my Etc. Orcas jersey on, and it really was the Orca that I was like, I gotta get that. That's a sick looking Orca. But the colors are great too. Like you can wear it to any Seattle sport event.
Oh yeah, it's a classic blue, classic green.
Yeah.
Like I have the throwback Seahawks jersey that they just released.
Ooh.
I got mine like 5 or 6 years ago.
Okay.
Up in Canada.
Really?
Yeah, for some reason they had it up there. And it's the exact same color scheme.
Yeah.
But I do like the stripes on the elbows in a hockey jersey where they sit, and just the loose flow of a hockey jersey.
Love the hockey jersey fit. I think that's why these maybe didn't sell out on the first day, is I think a lot of people don't like a hockey jersey fit. I mean, plenty of people do, but I think if it was a football jersey, I think it would have sold a lot better.
Oh yeah, well,
but
we're Hockey Town now.
We are
Hockey Town, USA.
Yep. Speaking of sports, so Major League Soccer, during the summer, there's a transfer window where you can trade or buy new players, right?
Okay, how big's the window? Is it the whole summer?
I want to say it's like a month and a half.
Okay,
it's a pretty big window.
But that's when most of the trades occur.
Yeah, mid-season, right? But Sounders, pretty much nothing.
Oh, no trades?
Nothing.
So they're not trying to get better?
No new players, and we didn't get yeah, exactly. That's what it says to me. Very disappointing.
Maybe they feel like they're right where they need to be.
So they're fourth in the West right now, but we're falling,
Okay. Well, I usually think that temperance is a good sign from owners, because you don't want a panicky, or a desperate, and those kinds of things breed excessive action. They're thinking too much of the moment than for the long term.
Perhaps, but I don't know. We'll see.
The fans like the excitement, though. Something mixing
exactly.
it up. Just mix it up a little.
Yeah, just
fresh blood.
Just one thing, just one trade or transfer or sell a player. I don't know.
Is there a draft as well?
Yes, there is.
When's the draft?
The draft is usually in. I'm trying not to talk out of my butt here. It's very early in the year, if I'm not mistaken. It's January.
So it's pretty far away from this trade.
Yeah.
Trade world.
So you you can purchase and stuff and trade like before the season, right? And then mid-season, you get another chance to basically change up your team.
Okay. But not us.
Not us, which was disappointing.
Did we win this week?
No, we're actually not playing this week because the league's on break right now because there's Leagues Cup going on. We got knocked out of the first round of Leagues Cup by putting on an absolutely pathetic performance.
Against who?
Real Salt Lake, we lost 0-3, and then Monterey, we lost 2-4. 4 unanswered goals at home. So we started off with 2 in the first 10 minutes, right? Everybody's feeling great. Then after that, 4 unanswered goals at home.
Oof.
So I think the franchise might be in a bit of trouble right now.
Interesting. I was watching a soccer game on Saturday night, just a little bit in the TV.
Mm-hmm.
It was Argentina. Went to double overtime. When both teams scored during the overtime. Very rare.
Wow.
Yeah. It was like 3-3, and then double overtime was 4-4.
So they had to go to penalties.
Yeah, but I didn't get to see the penalties.
Yeah. Also on soccer, FC Ballard, which is a USL 2 team, which is like a couple tiers down from MLS.
Okay.
They're based in Seattle. Won the USL 2 national championship this weekend.
Whoa, the USL 2 championship?
Mm-hmm.
They won it?
Yep, they won the national title.
That's crazy.
Yeah. If USL...
Do you think anyone knows?
I think a lot of people know. Like, within the soccer community, like the Sounders fans, FC Ballard's sort of like an exciting new thing to come to the area.
Interesting. So it's almost like the Rainiers, but it's not actually even connected at all.
No, it's not. USL's sort of its own league.
You know what's crazy? I came to an epiphany the other day that seems ridiculous that it took me this long.
Mm-hmm.
But so we have the Seattle Mariners, right? Right. And then the Tacoma Rainiers.
Yeah.
If you just took the MA off of Tacoma and put it on the beginning of the Rainiers, it becomes Mariners. So it's the Tacoma Mariners.
Not quite.
Very close, though.
Very close.
Like, close enough that they must have done that on purpose.
I don't think they did.
You don't think so?
No.
The Tacoma Mariners.
Mariners.
Yeah, the Mariners.
Taco Mariners.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I don't think. I think it's just yeah, I think it's just
you just thought
coincidence.
Like, it rhymes.
No, I think they were just. I mean, Tacoma's named after the mountain,
and the Rainier is like a prominent thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just seemed like kind of too much of a coincidence for me.
Maybe.
Because Tacoma ends in MA, like Mariners begins.
Right. I think you're overthinking this.
All right. Well,
this is like the people. I saw this reel on Instagram where people will put something up to like a mirror, and then they'll put like a piece of paper between that object and the mirror, and they're like, "How does the mirror know it's there if I'm covering it?" And it's like, first of all, a mirror can't know anything.
It knows very little.
It's a piece of glass.
Exactly.
It's light.
How does the mirror know to raise your left hand when you raise your right hand?
See, well, that's the exact same caliber of overthinking it, right? But speaking of, like, I guess smaller baseball teams, is there's this one I saw on Instagram. It's in Florence, Alabama. They're called the Florence Yalls. Okay. And they get their name.
With an apostrophe?
Yes. They get their name from the town's water tower that says Florence Yall, because originally it said Florence Mall, but the mall wasn't built yet, so the state said it couldn't say Florence Mall, so they switched it to Florence Yall, and then that became the name of like their minor league team.
Did they ever build the mall?
I don't know. I never looked it up because I was just so enthralled with this story, because here's the best part. The mascot for the team is the water tower. They have a guy dressed up like a water tower.
He's a water tower?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I like water towers because most people don't even know why they exist.
I think because I didn't know like really
why
why
do they need to
they.
be up?
Yeah, I didn't know that until um I think I was like 22 years old when I finally figured it out.
Wow,
I was like,
what a journey!
I know. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Water pressure, it's powerful.
Mhm. Yeah.
But that's pretty cool. I mean, Water Tower or Rainier, they're both good mascot names.
Yeah. So, I've got a story.
Oh yeah, is it a recent story?
Recent.
Is it about the festival you went to this weekend?
I'll get to that.
Oh, okay, because I am curious if we were hyping up the Porchfest.
Oh yeah.
And I totally forgot about it yesterday until it probably wasn't too late for me to go.
It's
but
okay.
I'm glad we had a representative.
Yeah, I was going to invite you, but then I got invited by some coworkers to go.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but maybe next time we'll go together.
Was it well? But do you want to get to your other story first, or?
Yeah, well, we're already on the Porchfest. We'll talk about Porchfest and then bring it back around. Porchfest, never been to anything like it.
Really, a unique experience.
A very unique experience. I mean, it's just like central Tacoma, just the neighborhood right off of 6, just gets turned into like a little music festival. And
sick.
you'd think with like all these bands around on people's porches, like you'd think like there'd be a lot of like sound interfering with each other, but like it's pretty well managed.
Spaced apart enough.
They're spaced apart enough, or the music's not so loud that it just carries through the neighborhood. Like if you're in front of the house in their yard and stuff, you can hear it well and appreciate it. But it was a lot better planned than I thought it would be. I thought it'd be kind of haphazard. They had porta potties, very important.
Oh yeah,
you gotta have those.
That's step number 1 almost.
They had food vendors, and even like homes were like giving out. Like I went to one home and they were giving out popsicles.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
yeah, it was great.
Very communal.
All sorts of kinds of music too. Like you had like DJs, you had like punk and like jazz and like hip hop.
Oh wow.
Yeah, very good variety.
How many acts do you think you saw?
I probably saw 5 or 6, but I think there was probably like 30 or 40 going on.
Wow.
Yeah.
So and pretty far apart spread. So like you would doubt someone had seen them all.
If you saw them all, I feel like you didn't actually listen to the music. You know what I mean? Like because how it works is like 1 to 3 there's one like it's on one half of the area, right? And then there's a parade 3 to 4 that goes through the neighborhood, and then the band set up again at different spots 4 to 6.
Okay, interesting.
The parade was it was more of are you familiar with what a Volksmarsch is?
No, I'm not.
It's a German term for a people's march, and it's just like the whole town goes wandering on a route together, meandering.
Kind of like a pub crawl?
Sort of like that, but we're going from point A to point B. We're not really going to the pubs.
And it's not like we're all in lockstep, or
no,
it's
very casual and almost orderly chaos. Is how I would
That's
put it.
nice.
One guy had a mechanical dragon that he was pedaling around, and it actually breathed fire, and he could articulate the head and stuff. It was wild.
That's crazy.
I was like, I'm surprised you don't need a permit for that.
Well, not during Porchfest.
Not during Porchfest.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah, no, it was great.
Were you there the whole time?
I was at a friend's house who lives in the neighborhood, so we could like hear the music and stuff, and we had some like drinks, and then we went and joined the parade, and then we actually went around and saw the bands for like the 4 to 6 set, and I actually saw Beverly Crusher, which is a band that I've seen in Seattle before, so it was good to see them again. And
sick.
They must have been one of the more anticipated features because it's so spread out. Like, there's a lot of people there, but it's so spread out. You know, there's like 10 people here, 15 people here. There was probably 60 or 70 people outside of the house that Beverly Crusher was playing. Yeah.
That's a good-sized crowd for just a yard.
Yeah, for sure. They had this one band by, like, Mission Thrift. I don't even know if you want to call it a band. They were, like, I think it was, like, one electronic artist, and it was just so abstract and weird that I don't know if you could call it music, and I think there was one person there.
Interesting.
Listening to it. It was very weird. It was almost unsettling, the music.
Well, that's probably what they were going for.
Like,
they're probably proud.
Have you ever heard like those songs that are like, this is sort of like an artistic expression of what dementia's like, and the music just becomes less more like unhinged and almost like chaotic as the song progresses. So at first it's like very nice, sort of soothing, and then it's like very off key, and the rhythm, like it's going in and out of rhythm and stuff. It kind of felt like that later stage where it's like you got really bad dementia.
Interesting.
Yeah. Which, if you haven't heard, like, those sort of, like, artistic expressions, like, musical expressions of sort of what, like, dementia's like, they're pretty interesting listens.
Yeah, well, maybe I'll put a link in the description.
Yeah. Also, I met Denali.
Oh, yeah. The dog that I take care of sometime. Catherine's dog. Great. Actually, I think taking care of Denali later this week.
Awesome. Yeah. Very chill dog.
One of my favorite dogs I've ever met.
Yeah.
Big brown poodle.
Because I saw him, and I was like, that dog looks very familiar. And I go up to this guy, and I'm like, oh, this is a nice dog. Man, I pet him. And what's his name? And he's like, oh, this is Daniel. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, it's nice to meet you, Daniel. And then, like, maybe 5 minutes later, he's like, well, this isn't actually my dog. I'm just watching it for somebody. And then it was this one woman who actually owned him. It's like, it's not Daniel, it's Denali. Yes, and I was like, oh, I know Denali.
Yeah, Catherine.
Yep. But, yeah, Porchfest was good, and free event, you know.
I mean, you can't do much better than that.
No, you can't.
Community building, music, and mirth.
Yeah, very much so.
That seems like quite a great field report.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, your regular Hunter S. Thompson.
Oh.
Were people drinking?
Yeah, I was walking through the streets with I was not walking through the streets with Coors.
But that seemed like a lot of people were.
Yeah, a lot of nobody cares.
Were there like cops on patrol, like making sure people were orderly? You didn't even see any police?
No, not a single one.
That's awesome.
I did not see a single cop the entire time.
That's
not
sick.
Even to close the streets.
Wow, the streets were closed and the cops didn't even have to do it.
No.
Wow, that's community.
No. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're not kidding. Very well organized event.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So before we started talking Porchfest, you had a story for me.
Yeah. So I'm at Tacoma Mall, right? Which is a Simon Mall, by the way. Just and I guess Simon
That'll
Malls,
come into the story.
Yeah. So they're doing canine patrols. And for those of you that are unfamiliar, a canine is basically a dog with a PhD, right? It's gone through an extensive amount of training, and it gets a special title. Well, not all PhDs are created equally, because I'm walking through the mall, right? And this dog just really keeps giving me attention. Like, it's following me. It's like not quite yelping, but it's like whining a lot, and it's very excited. And
Interesting.
So I change.
It likes you?
Yeah. So I change my path, and then the dog brings the handler around, and I'm like, oh shit! Like, what the fuck is going on?
Do I have drugs on me? Am I strapped with a bomb right now?
I'm like, maybe I'll just go into a store. I go into a store, and then I hear someone behind me. It's like, hey, sir. And it's like, I'm such and such with mall security. Our dog had a hit on you for a firearm. And I'm like, what? I didn't even know you could train a dog. I guess maybe the scent of gunpowder maybe. But it was like, I was like, oh shit, dude. They're going to probably take me in some back room and search me and stuff. like, because this dog was just dead set on it. And they were like, "Do you have a weapon on you, sir?" And I was like, "No." And they were like, "Oh, okay. Have a good day." And I was like,
They just took your word?
"Yeah."
That's crazy.
But I, for the record, didn't have a firearm on me.
Is it even illegal if you did?
I don't think you're allowed to carry a weapon on the mall.
In Siemens
at
malls.
the Simon malls. It's a terms of service violation.
Interesting. Do you think they'd just make you turn around, or you think you'd like get a ticket?
I think you might get arrested if you bring a concealed weapon into a place that doesn't permit them. I think you can be arrested.
Interesting.
Yeah, I want to say it's an arrestable.
But all you have to do is say you don't have it, apparently. And they'll walk away.
I guess so. You just have like a duffel bag, and there's just like barrels of weapons hanging out of it, and it's like, no, I don't have them. Sir,
this dog smells a gun on you.
It's like,
what do you think it was that it smelled?
So the other night, like a car just, I think, burst into flames in my neighborhood, and my apartment was like very smoky. I had to shut the windows, so I'm wondering if like that scent got in like my clothes or something.
Whoa!
Like I smelled myself after it, and I didn't smell anything, but dogs, they have a much sharper,
100 times
sharper nose. So I'm wondering if it smelled sort of like smoke, and like it was like, oh, gun.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I read a story, a little story about that, about dogs smelling stronger than humans recently. It was a very funny story to me.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I have a little time to recount it.
Yeah.
But so I saw the movie Oppenheimer.
Right. Yeah.
And it's about Oppenheimer building the bomb and the Manhattan Project, and it's from Oppenheimer's perspective a lot.
Yeah.
So he feels the weight of the world on his shoulders. He's got to race against Hitler.
Mm-hmm.
But it was funny because I had read a book about a nuclear physicist who was at the Manhattan Project years and years ago. It's one of my favorite biographies, Surely You're Joking, Mr. Feynman, about Richard Feynman. And he was at the Manhattan Project as one of the theoretical physicists. But I remember it was like this, it felt very different when I was reading his version. I'm like, because he was such a scientist that like a scientist's perspective on things can be very detached from the regular world.
Right.
And so I went back to reread it and see this other perspective again. And so I read and the first chapter of Richard Feynman at Los Alamos.
Mm-hmm.
I can give a very quick summary. It goes like this. So he says, I arrived at Los Alamos, and I was very grateful that Oppenheimer had set up accommodations for my wife at the nearby hospital because she was suffering from TB.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went to go visit her, and on the way I was reading that the bloodhound has the ability to smell 100 times stronger than a human. It has, a person can touch a cloth one time, and the bloodhound will be able to track its scent.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, well, that's kind of curious. I 100 times stronger. I wonder what capacity I have to smell something like that and identify something from a person. So he arrives at the hospital and he says, wife, let's do an experiment. Like, I have this 6-pack of Coke bottles over here. What I want you to do is I'm going to leave the room and I want you to handle the Coke bottle.
Mm-hmm.
And for a good minute or so, and then I'll come back and I'll sniff it to see if I can tell which one you handled. So they do this, and he comes back and he grabs a bottle and he can identify it.
Yep.
But he's like, I can kind of tell based on the temperature. Right, faulty experiment.
Yeah.
So he's like, let's redo it. But this time, shut a book. Just open and shut a book.
Mm-hmm.
So they do that. He comes back and he's able to identify which book was open and shut.
Wow.
Just based on smell.
Huh.
And then he says, and then you hear that the bloodhound can follow a path. So he gets on his hands and knees and he starts trying to be able to identify the path that his wife had walked, and he finds out that he can't do it. And he's like, and that's the distinction between the bloodhound and the human.
Wow.
And that's the whole first chapter.
That's the whole first chapter of the book.
Of the Los Alamos section of the book.
Well, okay. Wow.
So I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, that is hilarious.
Because it's very
not expected.
It's a very different. He only puts like 4 or 5 chapters in his autobiography.
Right.
About Los Alamos, and this is one of them.
Wow. That's crazy.
But the things that are significant to scientists,
How was Oppenheimer?
Oppenheimer was great.
That's good. I'm glad.
It was great. It had a lot of the themes of the world, like that. I love history of science. I love great minds. And I like that when science was, or I don't know, that time period in science is very interesting too.
Yeah. For sure.
The advent of the nuclear and
it's a scientific revolution.
It was, and somehow successful.
Yeah.
There's a lot of thought about how great science is created, and the Germans are some of the greatest.
Mm-hmm.
But luckily we stole most of them away.
Yeah. And
that's a big interesting part about it.
They didn't do themselves any favors. They scared a lot of the good ones away.
Yeah, exactly.
They scared them too good. But yeah, that's
they gave all the great the shout outs to the great names that I wanted to hear. They gave Niels Bohr all his due credit. And,
nice.
Einstein, they placed him well within the movie. Even though he wasn't that directly involved.
I like
a lot of great name drops if you know your scientists.
I like how we name units of measurement after scientists.
Oh yeah.
And the one that always is kind of grim is whenever it's like a unit of measurement of something harmful. It's like a Curie, right?
Oh,
and it's like
of radioactivity.
And it's like, oh, now I know, what probably happened to them.
Oh yeah, well, or did happen to
she died from the poisoning,
overhandling the isotopes.
Yeah,
but she won the Nobel Prize. She's probably the greatest female scientist other than Jane Goodall.
Nice.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Germans, I've been watching the test trams for the T-line extension.
Oh yeah, I saw you posted a little video of them.
There's 2 of them. I got both of them passing each other.
Yeah,
at
they
the
look
same
spiffy.
Time. Yeah, I think they're.
You look sharp with your jersey on that T-line.
Oh, thank you.
You'd match it almost.
Oh, I think so. I think so. But the trains. So the original ones are Skoda, check, right?
Okay.
I think these new ones. Our favorite company, Siemens.
Oh, really? They're made by Siemens?
I'm pretty sure they're Siemens
trams. That's a quality brand.
I know. They should be. We should get them as a sponsor for the cast. Just be like, Siemens, you'll find a little bit of us in everything.
We make it all.
But, yeah,
so when were the test runs going to be over?
I don't know. It feels like they've been testing them for a month.
I guess they've got to make sure it's right.
Yeah, we don't want another Tacoma streetcar incident.
Yeah.
Which is maybe something I'll talk about next episode, which the original Tacoma streetcar had a fatal accident.
Yeah. Actually, I heard about a recent fatal accident on the Light Link.
Oh.
Yeah, there was like a 14-year-old kid who was tagging up some part of the train. And the train came, and he knocked him off. If he fell 30 feet.
Yeah, that was the monorail.
Oh, that was the
monorail?
Was the
monorail, yep.
Oh, really? I didn't realize that.
Yeah, he got hit by the monorail, which is train engineers end up killing people all the time,
sure.
Right? When you go and you drive the monorail, you think, surely this is the one train where I don't have to worry about hitting anybody.
Yeah, right.
And then it happens.
Well,
but yeah,
casualty of war.
It's I think that's one of the things about graffiti is I feel like there's sort of this chase to get tag the most difficult spot for some people,
right.
And
that didn't pay off.
I think we know why this spot in particular hasn't been tagged before.
Yeah, right. Well, I hope they leave his tag.
Probably not.
Yeah, probably not.
Probably not. I wonder how far he got through it.
Yeah.
'Cause, like, just being somebody who, like, watches trains, you'll see, like, an entire, like, grain hopper that somebody just put together, like, I mean, just almost a masterpiece
Oh,
on.
yeah.
And, like, that would make me anxious because you might be halfway through and then it starts moving. Like,
Oh,
you don't know what the
yeah.
train schedule's like unless maybe some of these people are, like, very well versed in railroad operations.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, they might be. I mean, if you're a train tagger,
Mm-hmm.
then you probably pick it up quick.
Yeah.
Have you ever run across a train tagger?
I've never actually seen one, which makes me
It seems
think
like there's so many tags on
which
trains.
makes me think there's probably certain spots that, like, they know they won't get seen by anyone because I'm around
You're at the
train.
high profile
Yeah.
spots.
The thing is, I don't go out at night, right? Because my camera doesn't work very well at night.
They're
so
probably the night
they're
train
probably
people.
out at night.
How do you feel about the graffiti on trains?
I think so. For me, sometimes it's interesting. There's, like, high effort there. Sometimes it's just like somebody wrote their name or something, which isn't very interesting. But I kind of like it because I like to call it the Great North American Art Exchange.
Oh, that's
because
a great
they go
perspective
all
on
over
it.
the continent, right? And they're
Yeah.
from all these places, and
They're on tour.
yeah, exactly. It's just one big North American art exchange.
That's a great perspective on it. That's beautiful.
Yeah. But, I guess tips for anyone who wants their stuff to last. If you see any, like, numbers or measurements or warnings on the side of the car, if you cover that up, they will certainly
they gotta
take
do
it
something
off.
about it.
But, like, if you don't cover anything up, the railroads don't give a shit. It costs too much to, like, repaint the car, so it'll probably last a long time.
Interesting. I was wondering about that, how much they refurbish or care about removing, covering up the paint.
Like, the
'Cause
car,
it seems like some stuff gets to be pretty old.
yeah, the car hull itself rarely needs to get refurbished. I mean, they're built like tanks, and they don't really paint them very often because it's very expensive, and you're taking up shop space, and that's a piece of equipment you're not using for weeks just for a paint job, right? It's really when you just, like, you'll have something like maximum load, 200,000 pounds. If you cover that up, that's a problem. So they'll just, like, scrape that off.
Oh, interesting. They just do
Or
that part.
sometimes they might repaint that number right over your, your graffiti. Interesting thing I learned too is the inspectors, rail car inspectors, so the guys that, like, make sure they're good to go. They usually carry chalk on them to mark issues, but if, like, a car's good to go, sometimes they'll make their own art and signature on it.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, sometimes it'd be like, oh, I've seen this guy before, because he, like, maybe his thing is like a cartoon beaver, right? And so you'll see that. If it's in chalk, it's a lot of times it's a railroad employee, and they sort of trade their own little, like, arts and doodles and stuff like that.
You'd think chalk would wash off.
It does after a while, but I mean, especially around here during the summertime.
Yeah, it could be quite a few
It could be
months.
up there for a while. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. But bombshell piece of news.
Ooh.
West Rock Paper Mill's closing down in September.
Oh yeah, you sent me that article.
Yeah. So
that's got to be good, right?
Or
bad? I don't know what my stance is.
A few. So, like, here's the thing: the West Rock Paper Mill made some modernizations back in, I think, the early 2000s that made it not stink as bad. Does it smell a little bit? Yeah. Is it a source of pollution? Sure. And I think that's probably the biggest hang up for West Rock is the structure was originally built. The facility was built in 1929, right? We're like 90 years old. It has its issues. And I don't think West Rock wants to make the capital investment to modernize the facility, and it's going. Not only does it have high operating costs, but it's probably going to run into compliance issues. In fact, I already know it's had to pay several fines out to several different departments for clean water violations. Right?
Yeah, that's what it's most notorious for, probably.
Yeah, I mean, because the thing is, it's such a it's kind of a dirty process, and that plant has its own wastewater treatment plant because it produces a ton of wastewater, right? So it's, it could be a good thing, but I'm a bit more pessimistic about it because, like, I'm worried it's going to become like the Martinex shipyard or where the aluminum plant was, where because it's polluted or something, it just stays abandoned for forever, right?
Well, but I would say that like Point Ruston has done a lot of cleanup in that very similar world, and has seen the benefits.
Yeah, I just, I think it's a question of, like, what is the city capable of right now? And I guess the tribe, too, because the tribe also controls a lot of the land out there. But, the 11th Street Bridge is crumbling and has been closed for, I think, like a decade now, and the city can't afford to knock it down, so it just sits there. So I'm wondering, maybe somebody buys it, right? Maybe another company is like, hey, this is good waterfront industrial space that we could use to make something else. There's 400 people that work at the West Rock paper mill.
Oh, wow, that's more than I would have guessed.
Yeah, it sounds like they're getting severances if they do decide to leave West Rock, but it sounds like if they want to keep working for West Rock is helping people relocate.
Oh.
But
do they have like other paper mills?
Yeah, they do. They're based in Atlanta. They have paper mills all over the country. When you were in school, did you ever have a notebook made by a company called Mead?
Oh yeah, Mead notebook. And a Bic that clicks.
Yeah, they were originally just like Mead, and then it became Mead West Vaco, and then Mead West Vaco merged with Rock 10 to make West Rock.
Oh.
So it's a huge paper company, but
interesting.
Across the board, they've been shuttering plants that are just getting sort of old and dirty and expensive to operate.
Too much to upgrade then.
Yeah, so it's not just like this isn't exclusively like only happening in Tacoma. Other West Rock plants around the country are getting shut down as they try to modernize. But I'm hoping that we find some other productive use of that space and it doesn't stay shuttered for a long time.
Or at least, yeah. Well, I think there's potential.
And I'm a bit concerned about the workers because like a paper mill is not something you can find everywhere.
Yeah, it's not a transferable skill. I wouldn't think.
I'm hoping they're not pigeonholed because of their skill set. There's certain people that have jobs at that factory that like can find a job somewhere else.
Yeah,
like
if you're
they're
a manager, or
safety
HR,
guy, or they drive a truck or something. But there's probably some people that have very paper production specific roles that it might be much more difficult for them to find a job. But it sounds like West Rock is helping people relocate, but that's a pretty tremendous opportunity cost in and of itself, just moving, right? That's a big deal. But yeah, I might miss it actually, And
are they going to demolish it, you mean?
No, but like especially in the winter when it's cold outside and the plant produces a ton of steam. Just something about like pulling up in Tacoma and seeing that massive cloud of steam coming out of the plant. Like it just sort of
we're gonna lose our aroma.
Yeah, well, I think we might still keep that thanks to all the scrap metal yards and the refinery.
Yeah, but I think the paper mill has a distinct. That's more what people think of. I think
that's what gave it like its sort of sulfuric, sort of like the rotten eggs sort of smell. But I'll tell you what, you drive by Metro Metals on a hot day. Sometimes it's like, oh, it stinks. I don't know if it's just like the metal's burning. Burning metal smells awful.
Yeah,
it's hideous. But yeah, the paper mill's closing and. I think it's a little easy to romanticize it, but it's like, the cloud factory.
Yeah.
I might miss it for a little bit. For that one winter, I'll probably miss it, and then after a while, it's like, okay.
On to the next.
Yeah, but that's like the big
news this week. Yeah, I think we covered a lot of news this week.
Yeah.
It's for a seeming not quite as eventful or just a regular summer week, we A lot happening in the big city.
Yeah. Well, Titlow Beach is getting renovated too.
Oh yeah.
So the city wants to restore the lagoon. You know, there's a lagoon on Titlow.
Yeah, I guess so.
It's more like a pond.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm not sure exactly what a lagoon is.
I'm actually not sure either. But it's kind of stagnant. It just looks like a dirty pond. Yeah. Well, the lagoon, I think a lagoon is like when you have like a cut in from the coastline, and then it sort of like bulges outward.
Mm-hmm.
I think. It's like a lake, but it's connected to the coast, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I need to learn my
my
water features again. But there's a lagoon there,
mm-hmm.
and I think they want to restore it. Meaning, I think they want it to sort of free flow to the coast, to the sound.
Lagoon it.
Yeah, or maybe it's a pond right now, and they want to make it a lagoon.
Okay.
I'm not entirely sure the specifics of the water features, but there's going to be some changes there. And have you ever been to Hidden Beach?
Maybe. It does sound like a place I would have gone.
It's a part of Titlow Park, but there's a bridge that goes over the railroad tracks, and they're going to replace that too.
Oh, interesting.
Because it's kind of old and rickety, and also Burlington Northern Santa Fe, who owns the tracks underneath it, says it does not meet their standards for what is allowable for a bridge to pass over their tracks. It doesn't meet the engineering or strength standards.
So they're going to do the upgrade?
No, I think the city is on the hook for doing the renovations because the city is the one that built the bridge over the railroad immediately. I think the railroad was there first. They built the bridge over it, but the railroad was like, "Hey, if you're going to build a bridge, it has to meet our standards." And I think it's sort of fallen into a state of not quite disrepair. It's rough, but it definitely is not compliant with the standards BNSF set forth in whatever agreement they have with the city. Also, you've probably seen the parts of Titlow where the paved path is sort of eroding into the bay, always. or into the Narrows. So that's probably going to get addressed too. But some renovations coming to Titlow Beach. I think sometime this month. There's public hearings. If I find specifics, maybe I'll let you know next episode. But
next episode.
Yeah. So
cool. Well, I'm looking forward. I always like improvements and renovations.
Yeah. I could use it, especially because I find the beach, the Hidden Beach Bridge, is very slippery. Especially if it's cold outside, you get a little bit of frost on that bridge. Oof.
Yeah.
Because, it's wood, but it's been walked on so much. The wood's almost been kind of
glazed.
Yeah, exactly. From all the people walking on it. It's very smooth.
Well, hopefully the renovations get done soon and we can enjoy a nice adventure. Maybe then the Hidden Beach won't be so hidden.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the timeline is. I hope they keep the hidden. So originally cars were allowed to drive over the Hidden Beach Bridge. I think they should just keep it pedestrian only.
Yeah, probably.
I think it's much better that way.
Well, we will see.
Yeah. So
you got any exciting Tacoma events coming up this week?
So we have Brew 5-3 at Chambers Bay and Smash Mouth. That's this weekend.
That's this weekend. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So I mean, we kind of already addressed that before, but if that's not really your thing, I also saw a poster. Oh wait, nope, this isn't this weekend. Oh yeah, the professional wrestling. The
BB or
the SOS wrestling at the where was that? It was, I think they called it Where the Wild Things Are.
Ooh, okay.
I think that's what they called it.
I could believe it.
Yes, they did call it SOS Pro Wrestling. Friday, August 11th at Edison Square. That's 5415 Tacoma Way. Doors at 7:15. Bell at 8.
All right.
If you like pro wrestling.
I really surprisingly enjoyed the last one I went to.
Okay. Do you want to go to this one?
I think I might be. Well, wait, I might not be able to go, but
I gotta see how much it is.
I think if I can go, I'd like to go.
Oh yeah.
I might be busy though.
Yeah. Yeah, I might have stuff going on too, but we'll see.
We will see, and we'll
report
keep you
back.
posted.
Yeah, if I go to this though, I probably won't go to Brew 53. Although Brew 53 is already kind of expensive.
Yeah, to see Smash Mouth.
Well, I think Smash Mouth is even actually a different event.
Oh, it's an unrelated.
Yeah, I think it's like later that night.
Oh, okay.
I think Brew 53 is during the day, and then.
Interesting.
But if you like beers, especially like craft beers, if you want to have some weird shit you'll never find in a store because a distributor won't carry it because it's so out there, go to Brew 53. You will find some crazy stuff. Like downright science experiments are happening at Brew 53. You will taste things you will never taste again at Brew 53. So if you like beer, I think they maybe do wines and ciders too. Check it out.
Oh yeah. And then this week for comedy, we got the mics Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
Monday and Thursday at 6th and Proctor, and Tuesday at the downtown location. And then it's Shane Smith downtown.
Ooh.
He's got the neck tattoos or whatever.
Yeah, that's how I always recognize him.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't watched very much of his comedy, but he seems fine.
Yeah.
And then Michael Somerville at the 6th and Proctor location, who he's also fine.
Okay.
So if you always got to support the local comedy, and I'll be supporting them with by working there.
Yeah.
But we will we'll I'm sure have some. I got a bunch of good new bits for this week, so I'm kind of excited for the mics. Come out good. One and all. The mics are more fun than the shows, I'll tell you, people.
Yeah.
Better crowds most of the time.
That 6th and Proctor mic's popping.
Yeah, it's the best mic in the state.
Well, yeah, I think so too.
So anyway, I think that's about all I got as far as on the upcoming week.
Yeah, that's all I got too.
All right, well then I guess we'll sign off, and we'll talk to y'all next Monday. Live life like the mountains out.
Thank you.